Hello, cosmic travelers, and welcome to another episode of Reclaiming Voices, where we honor the stories of spiritual figures whose legacies have been buried, distorted, or demonized by societal narratives. This month, we are following the themes of love and celebrating it by honoring and reclaiming voices in two separate videos for the month. Today, we turn our attention to a figure associated with love, compassion, and rebellion, Saint Valentine. Most people know Valentine's Day as a day of celebrating romantic love, marked by cards, flowers, pretty heart-shaped boxes filled with chocolates, and maybe a nice dinner. But how many of us know the true story behind Saint Valentine? The man behind the holiday was more than a symbol of romance. He was a radical figure who stood against oppressive systems. He upheld sacred unions, and he ultimately paid the price for his defiance. Though he may not seem like a figure in need of reclaiming compared to the others in this series, his story has been greatly distorted over time. First, he stands out as one of the few male figures we'll be discussing in this whole series. And second, his comfortability in being in both his masculine and his feminine energies was seen as a threat in his time, and unfortunately, it still is today. His legacy teaches us that love is a courageous, rebellious act, and not the commercialized gesture that it has become today. Reclaiming his voice means learning his story and celebrating the divine figure who wasn't afraid to defy authority for the sake of love. It is a story many of us don't know, and one we need to remember. In reclaiming the voice of Saint Valentine, we reconnect with a message of unconditional love, divine connection, and the courage to follow one's heart, even when it goes against societal norms. So who was Saint Valentine? The truth is, there are multiple accounts of who he might have been, what his role was. You see, a lot of people aren't sure if he was either a priest or a bishop, but the most widely accepted story is that Valentine was a priest in Rome during the 3rd century, a time when the Roman emperor was persecuting Christians and forbidding marriages. Emperor Claudius II believed that unmarried men made better soldiers, so he banned marriages to ensure a steady supply of soldiers for his army. Valentine saw this decree as a violation of human rights and a violation of the sacred bond of love. He defied the emperor's orders and continued to perform secret marriage ceremonies for couples in love. For this act of rebellion, he was arrested and ultimately he was executed on February 14th. But Valentine's story doesn't end there. Legend says that while he was in prison awaiting his death sentence, he healed the blind daughter of his jailer, Asterius. Before his execution, he wrote her a letter signed, "Your Valentine," a gesture that is believed to be the origin of today's Valentine's Day tradition. While there is no documented history of Valentine actually healing people before this event, the legend likely grew from his reputation as a compassionate, rebellious figure in early Christian communities. And the healing story would have been a reflection of his perceived sanctity and connection to divine power. Saint Valentine's story, like many others, has been reshaped over time. His message of love and defiance against unjust authority was seen as dangerous by those in power. In a society that has sought to control human connections and impose rigid structures, Valentine's actions were revolutionary. He stood for love in all forms, not just romantic love, but divine love, self-love, and the sacred bonds that connect us all. But over the centuries, his story was sanitized and commercialized. The radical priest who stood up for love became a symbol of consumer-driven romance. His acts of defiance were stripped away, and what remained was a shallow celebration of romantic gestures. It's time to reclaim his voice and remember him as a spiritual revolutionary who embodied the power of love to challenge oppression and transform lives. Beyond the surface, Saint Valentine's story holds deep spiritual significance. His defiance of unjust laws and his commitment to uniting people through love speaks to the universal human desire for connection and freedom. Valentine's actions remind us that love is sacred and transcendent. It's not something to be controlled by governments, institutions, or societal norms. Love, in its purest form, is a divine force that breaks down barriers and heals wounds. Reclaiming Valentine's voice means embracing love as an act of rebellion against hatred, division, and control. It means recognizing that love's power is not limited to romance. It extends to all aspects of life: self-love, love for humanity, and love for the divine. Throughout history, love and sacred unions have often been demonized. In many ancient cultures, rituals of love and connection were seen as sacred acts of devotion. Yet as the patriarchal structures took hold, these rituals were labeled as immoral, sinful, or dangerous. The demonization of love is rooted in fear of losing control over people's hearts and minds. Institutions that sought to maintain power understood that controlling love meant controlling the essence of human connection. Saint Valentine's story challenges us to break free from these narratives. His legacy invites us to reclaim the sacredness of love in all of its forms and to honor the bonds that connect us to each other and to the divine. By reclaiming his voice, we reclaim the power of love as a force for healing, transformation, and liberation. Some things that you can ask yourself: where have I allowed societal norms to dictate how I express my love? How can I honor the sacred connections in my life? And what acts of love and defiance am I being called to embody? Valentine's story teaches us that love is worth fighting for. It reminds us that love's power transcends fear and oppression. When we align with love, we step into our truth and reclaim our sovereignty. Some of Saint Valentine's tools that you can use for connecting with his energy are roses. They represent the symbol of love, beauty, and divine connection. Doves, representing peace, unity, and spiritual devotion. And of course, a heart, a reminder of love's transformative power and the courage to follow your heart. Calling on Valentine's frequency can help us heal wounds around love and relationships. His energy invites us to embrace love as a divine force that empowers and liberates. Saint Valentine's story is one of love, defiance, and spiritual power. By reclaiming his voice, we honor the sacredness of love in all of its forms and restore balance to the narratives that have sought to control it. If Valentine's energy calls to you, know that he is here to guide you and empower you. By embracing his wisdom, we step into the fullness of who we are and reclaim the power of love that has always been within us. Let's honor Saint Valentine's truth, his courage, and his love, and through him honor our own capacity to love fearlessly and authentically. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of Saint Valentine's legacy. May his energy continue to guide you this month in reclaiming your own voice, your own love, and your own sacred path. Until next time, may love always lead you on your journey.